JSN inking a deal that makes him the top paid wide receiver in the National Football League at $42.2 million per season. 168 is the deal. George Pickens. What's this mean for Pickens? What's it mean for the Cowboys? The Cowboys are in trouble. And you have the worst possible decision maker in these situations in charge of this situation. That's Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is watching George Pickens' price tag go up as they have him tagged, and everybody thinks, oh yeah, Pickens is going to stay on the Dallas Cowboys roster, and maybe he does, but there's a really good chance this thing gets out of control, spirals out of control, and George Pickens ends up getting traded on the tag to sign a new fat contract with a new team like the New England Patriots or the Baltimore Ravens, or a team like that we don't necessarily feel like Pickens is going to be a part of that organization right now, but it unfolds that way slowly as a frog placed in boiling water. Just slowly, doesn't jump out. It kind of doesn't notice the temperature change, and then boom. This is going to be a wild ride. We've said it before. We're going to have about 15, 20 George Pickens live streams on this channel before the situation gets totally solved, whichever way that ends up getting solved. $42.2 million for JSN, $40.3 million for Jamar Chase, $35 million for JJ. We're starting to get the small chump change money right here comparatively to this. $34 million for CD Lamb, $33 for DK Metcalf. I can tell you right now, this man has his sights are set on a new number. This man, George Pickens, ain't going for a $31, $32 million payday. He's not looking to be DK Metcalf. He sees himself better than DK Metcalf. We see him as better than DK Metcalf. Now, what's that mean? 35 mil? 34? 37? 38? 40? We don't know what's in the mind of George Pickens. We kind of think we do. He was a diva, totally wild man, gonna be toxic for your locker room, until he landed in Dallas, where he was a good boy for 1 year like we predicted. But right now he wants to get paid. Like Travis Kelce just got paid. We'll go over that in a second, as well as some other things like Jeremiah Love to the Washington Commanders, according to Shefty. We'll go over that and more. The Fantasy Football Show Breaking News Edition, but breaking down all of the news today as it compiles and collects. And I'm here at your service, per usual. That show begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks. Attack.
Lamb. Pickens. Lamb. Pickens. Deck attack. Deck attack. Deck attack. Deck attack.
Deck attack trying to get the boys back together, but Pickens might have something to say about that. We're going to talk about Pickens in a second. Let's just real quickly address the money in the room, the big money, the new money. This is Jack Dawson money, new money, not old money. And this man here, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, is getting paid $42.2 million per season. Very much earned. And as we've just been talking about over and over and over, last night before, trying to nail down the top quarterback, the top wide receiver option in 2026 and in Dynasty. I keep anyway, landing on, by the way, I had this camera I didn't even check and see if, where it was angled at. My Chase Brown bat in the middle of the night came crashing down from I had a couple of these hooks that were like this on top of a shelf, and then I'd set beautifully the Chase Brown bat on these hooks like this. And this somehow, some way, this hook broke in the middle of the night. Chase Brown bat came crashing down like the man, myth, and legend that he is, and just knocked everything off my deck. I didn't know what was going on here. It was like maybe it sounded like 3 minutes of crashing, but it was really probably more like two to 4 seconds. But walk in my studio, looked like somebody had taken this bat to it, and so I gotta find another way to mount that up there. But my camera, I didn't check. My camera got knocked too. We're talking about this wide receiver ranking situation 2026 and Dynasty, and it's not too much different Dynasty to redraft. And what we keep landing, at least I keep landing on, is that JSN's my number one in Dynasty fantasy football or redraft fantasy football as a safe play. Not to say that Jamar Chase can't be number one, not to say Puka Nacua in redraft can't be argued easily as the number one overall player, not just number one wide receiver. But at the end of the day, what we have here is a combination of things that make him just the safest with the same kind of upside. He has the upside to be the number one wide receiver in the league, not just the upside to be the most consistent or likely to finish standing, and Chase is the number one but gets hurt, or Puka Nacua is the number one but gets hurt, which are two variables with those two guys. Jamar Chase getting hurt, Burrow getting hurt, the Bengals playing well in weeks 1 through 4, like all these different variables that go with Jamar Chase, where it's like it's just roadblock after roadblock. I mean, he's always so amazing, but then something gets in the way. Injury to Chase, injury to Burrow, slow start for the Bengals, constant, situations that just arise, whereas JSN's in steady Eddyville. And he's just going to 1,700 yards, 15 plus touchdowns, 120 plus receptions. He's going to be number one. But he also has a very steady quarterback situation because Sam Darnold is the game manager that he is. I'm sorry that pisses everybody off, but it's just the way it is. But Darnold's such a good quarterback for JSN. The marriage between the two is ideal. And then you have this very quiet, sneaky backup situation in Jalen Milroe that you don't have for Puka. And Stafford's got the back issues and he's older. You also have Joe Burrow injury history and all that. So there's so many different layers and levels as to why JSN just feels like the safest pick in fantasy football. But I pick Jahmyr Gibbs. I pick probably Bijan, or at least Gibbs, JSN, then Bijan. But this would be my number 3 overall player if I'm going running back, Bijan, Gibbs ahead of wide receivers. But the problem is, and I'm not saying there is any sort of value here or steal necessarily, but I would venture to say that because a lot of people didn't have JSN necessarily locked in at 1, you were probably looking at JSN more around the 3. I would say like 3 to 5 territory, because you had Gibbs and Bijan right here, and it might be Bijan 1, Gibbs 2, and then you had a combination of people rotating Chase, Puka, and JSN. So JSN was going like 4 or 5. He was traditionally getting locked into that 4 or 5. My point being that being in the news, everybody talking about him, the contract speaking volumes about him being the number 1 wide receiver on paper is just going to creep him up. And again, not to suggest that 4 or 5 was a steal or a sleeper territory, but it was a value. That value might be gone. And for good reason. So be prepared to pay maybe 1, 2, 3 overall value. Tony dropping a $20 hauler. Why? I don't know. Because he's a monster, maybe?
Alert. Super chat alert.
Tony, appreciate you for the $20 super chat. Standing ovation for you. Tony's the man, the myth, the legend. Appreciate you, Tony. Let's see what Tony has to say, and then we're back to business here. Always bringing my thing is blurry here. Always bringing the best content, sending some love, brother. Appreciate you, Tony, very much for dropping that super chat. You straight up. I smell meatloaf. You straight up meatloaf monster. Okay. what's this mean for George Pickens? I'll tell you what it means for George Pickens. George Pickens is sitting by the phone, and he's waiting for Jerry to call. And his mom's cooking one of those big, pots of meatloaf soup, and she's stirring that thing. They've got the red or yellow rotary phone in the kitchen, and Pickens is sitting there, just swiveling around on a stool. They're waiting for the call. They're waiting for Jerry to call and say, pick out a number between 42 and 35. And the unfortunate part is Jerry's sitting at his office waiting for a call that says something like, hey, we'll take 31. And the two are so far apart. Tony's sending 10 gifted memberships because he's more than a meatloaf monster. He's a super chatting and gifted monster membership. I smell meatloaf. Tony, appreciate you. And Jerry's sitting there thinking that he's going to get a call where George Pickens is going to say, I'll take 31. I heard that JSN got paid today, 31.5. The problem is they're so far apart. They're about as far apart as a I don't know, an H-hand hater and an H-hand believer. They're so far apart. They're not even in the same time zone. And the problem is this is going to fester. It's going to manifest. It's going to build. And before we know it, George Pickens is going to be in full-blown holdout mode. He's already in I'm not reporting mode. He's in real quiet stealth holdout mode. It's totally stealth. No one's really making a fuss. And you ask him about it now, and he might go, oh, yeah, I don't know. If you remember during the Super Bowl week, he was asked about his contract. And he smiled, and he acted like it was somebody had told him something he'd never heard before. They're like, hey, what do you think about your contract? And he goes, oh, I don't know. Real nice, calm, cool kid. I like Pickens a lot. I think Pickens has he's got a bad rap, and he doesn't deserve it. And he smiled, and he goes, oh, I don't know. He's not about that. It's no big deal. That's stealth holdout mode. That's Pickens saying, yeah, my camp and I, we talked, and we're going to just put on a face real quick. We're going to try and be a good boy. And hopefully this thing gets worked out. It's about to get ugly. It's about to get disgustingly ugly. Why? Because Jerry's going to probably crap all over the target number that Pickens and camp will set their sights on. I just wonder where this is going to head, and as do you, I'm sure. The couple different places it could end up going immediately. One, that Pickens strips everything from Dallas Cowboy, whatever, from his social accounts and starts distancing himself from the organization, which is going to be bad for Lamb and the boys, because surprisingly, Lamb loves Pickens being around. I think opposite of what BTJ really thought of Hunter. Remember that relationship? It seemed like it was similar, but it wasn't. BTJ didn't want Hunter there. BTJ doesn't want Hunter there now. BTJ doesn't want Myers or anyone. Parker Washington, he doesn't want a single soul on that wide receiver, in that wide receiver room, and he's not taking it well, and that's why BTJ needs to get traded, whether people accept that or not. Eventually, BTJ needs to get the hell out of Dodge to get a fresh start and revitalize the career that potentially could unravel on him. But Pickens is in a different boat. Pickens is in an environment where Lamb loves him. Dak Prescott obviously loves him. The team loves him. The organization as a whole loves him. And Pickens is, he was the number 5 wide receiver, and Jerry's not going to want to pay him number 1 through 5 wide receiver money. Now, there's a chance, Georgie boy, we're misjudging what he's going to ask for. I could tell you he's going to ask for 40, and you might laugh at me. And I might be wrong, because I don't know. Godwin could have got $28 million per year, because that was the offer we believe the New England Patriots were offering him, $28 million a year. He turned it down and signed $23 million a year to stay in Tampa. So just a subtle reminder that just because we think we know where a player's mentality is doesn't mean we actually know where a player's mentality is. So let's just put that out there right now. We don't know if Pickens is actually thinking 43, 45, or 35. What I do believe to be true is that the JSN contract, $42.2 million, puts Pickens' target, like floor target, at CeeDee Lamb, because that's his teammate. And I could see him looking at him and going, I want at least what he's getting. So to me, that's the floor, $34 million. I don't know if he'll actually want more or not. And Lamb might go to him and say, bro, my money was big once, but you need more than my money. My money's falling to the wayside. One more contract, that is Puka Nacua, who is next. He's surely going to get a contract before Pickens gets his. That contract moves Lamb to number 5. So as soon as Puka signs, the whole game changes again. But let's pretend right now that Jerry was going to ink the contract before Puka, which will not happen. It will not happen. If it did happen, I could see Lamb saying, bro, my number's going to be small in 2 or 3 years from now. I'm going to be outside the top 7 in 2 years. Don't grab my number. Go higher, because I'll soon get my number up into the 40s. And you don't need to use my contract as an example. But let's just say he did. If he did sign $34 million, whatever, it gets above DK, then he and Lamb are currently both in the top 5. It's understandable. It's in the realm of possibility that $34 million. But I don't think for a second that Pickens would want less money than Lamb. He just outproduced Lamb. I'm not saying he's better than Lamb. I'm just saying he just outproduced Lamb. He's number 5 in the league. He was number 5 in the league. You think you'd get number 5 numbers. Because the number 5 numbers are to replace DK, to be number 5, to be tied for 4, which will put him at the 5th spot, he needs 34 mil. So 34 mil is the floor. The problem is there's almost a 0% chance that Puka Nacua does not sign his new contract before Pickens signs his. It's nearly guaranteed that Puka Nacua will get his contract because his team's actively working on it. And guess what Puka's going to sign? Bigger or equal to JSN. Puka Nacua is about to sign a $42.5, $42.3, $43.1 million per year contract extension. And then that's going to make DK Metcalf go bye-bye from the top 5 board. That makes Lamb Chops the number 5. That makes there's no chance that Pickens is even accepting $34 million per year because Puka Nacua is about to reset the table in the chessboard when you have 3 players over $40 million per year. If, in fact, Puka Nacua signs for 42 or more, George Pickens will want $40 million. Whether he gets it or comes down from the number later after exhaustive contract negotiations is another dilemma in question. But one more $40 million per year player makes $40 million the new target zone. If not already. There's a good chance that having 2 players breach 40 per year means that Pickens is going to say with his camp, we're not going to settle in at 5 or 6 now. In 2 years, we'll be 10th. What are we doing here? Give us the top of the ladder. Let others climb over our back. And in 2 or 3 years, $42 million, if that's where, let's say, Pickens wanted to settle, 40 to 42, this will be 5th or 6th in 2 or 3 years. It's not a case of, oh my God, you're not the number 1. You're not getting the number 1. The number 3 or 4 or 5 wide receiver will get the number 1 money because it's a ladder. Do you think that the quarterbacks that sign their $50+ million per year contracts, do you think that when the next one comes, they'll be number 1? Not necessarily. It's a ladder. They climb on each other's backs to get that number higher. George Pickens, if I had to predict this thing's going to get messy, the New England Patriots, this could be part of the thinking in not rushing an A.J. Brown trade because they're maybe actively trying to sniff this one out. There's a possibility the Ravens get involved because I've already told you this owner in Baltimore wants out. He wants out. He does not want to be the owner anymore. He doesn't want to pass the team down to his family members. He wants to win a championship or two, he said. The sooner the better, because he'll get out before 10 years. But 10 years is his maximum window. And you saw by the Max Crosby, Hendrickson situations that they're willing to spend and make moves. And the backing out of the Max Crosby situation affords them more draft capital to use and utilize to then go get said wide receiver. So the Ravens are a really interesting team to be involved in the George Pickens sweepstakes later on as all this starts to unravel. And unravel it shall, because George Pickens is headed toward a direction of give me the $40 million number, or I'm not even picking up my phone, and Ma and I are just going to stir this meatloaf soup on the stove here and enjoy ourselves until we get the phone call. They're not in the business of asking for $32 million anymore. Jerry, that ship sailed. And why Jerry and all these owners and people say, Smitty, you think you know more than these owners? You think you know more than these GMs? Why would I be doing what I do? I mean, respectfully, with a little bit of arrogance, I get it. But why would I be sitting here trying to talk to all of you if I really thought I didn't have a grasp on this stuff, or feel like I, could handle these situations different, or that I don't understand, or we break them down in ways that we scratch our head later and say we predicted this? I'm in the prediction game. And my prediction is that you could have signed Pickens at the beginning of all of this for $35 million, because that would have put him second. It would have been Chase at 40, and then he would have been tied with Justin Jefferson for the second highest paid wide receiver if you gave him $35 million at the onset. That is enough to wet your beak, and you're putting him in the second place, tied second place positioning. Now $42 million, $40 million, and probably $42, $43 million for Puka. I bet Puka's the number one paid receiver at the end of the day when he signs his. That puts him at 35. Now he's like 4-5, getting pushed out of the top 5. This is the easiest thing to see coming. And I sit here and I watch from afar. I've got chatty Charlies in my chat, and angry Angus is going, you think you know more? Yes, I do. And this is ridiculous to watch unfold from a grown man that lives in a world called Jerry's world, and he doesn't understand what time it is. And the Niners do this all the time. Let me give the Niners credit. They've had an amazing offseason. I mean, Mike Evans, bringing back Greenlaw. It's been... Look, credit where credit's due. I'm the most unbiased show you'll find. Even though people think I'm biased, I'm a Niner hater, I give credit where credit's due. Mike Evans is one of my favorite sleeper players of the year. Yes, he is a sleeper because people are sleeping on him. I don't care how big a name you are. You can be a sleeper. Mike Evans is being slept on as a top 10 wide receiver. Trashed on. Oh, he won't stay healthy. Watch. I give people credit where credit's due. The Niners have had an amazing offseason. But the Niners are some of the worst at this type of thing, where you can solve the problem early. Give Ayuk what he wants now, and then he doesn't hold out through that entire situation. Then Ayuk explodes and turns into a monster. And now look at the situation. The Niners got robbed out of all that money, didn't get Ayuk's services at all. And that's on the Niners. Just like this is on Jerry. Jerry could have gave him $35 million when it was tied for second. When the offseason began. There's almost a zero chance that Puka Nacua does not sign his contract next before Pickens even sniffs the ink on paper. Trone, you don't know what you're talking about. No offense. So Mike Evans is risky but not slept on. He's 100% slept on. Trone already went through this. I don't need to go through this with you. We did a whole live stream on it where half the chat was saying they're not going near him. So stop, because you don't know what you're talking about on this one. That's that. Here is the other pieces of news we need to discuss. Travis Kelce signed his contract, officially locking in for 2026. It's a 3-year, $54 million, let's see, 18 per year deal. Year one is $12 million plus $3 million in incentives. Look, some of these things are structured in a way to drag out money, give the player the option if they want to play longer. No one thinks he's making it through this entire contract. But it's, it's significant for 2026 because it's good to have Kelce back. He was still like a top 5 tight end. I'm not saying he necessarily finishes 5 now. I would say him maybe going like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 type of value and return on investment eventually this year with some spotty play, some injury risk and all that. Sadiq would be amazing in KC, but KC getting Walker, having Kelce back, having the early top 10 draft pick that they could easily use on a receiver if they want, or Sadiq. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to be really good this year, even though people are going to think like Mahomes coming back from an ACL tear makes them vulnerable. That's ridiculous thinking, and that's called not understanding ball. Here's the contract details for anybody that wanted to know. JSN's deal is a $42.15 million per year that includes $120 million guaranteed. Both are records, both are highs, and this offensive player of the year is now dropping, wads on the daily with this new deal. We love the guy. Love him. This other piece of news here about Jeremiah Love is, where is this at? This would be good. I don't know that I trust Schefter really. This is kind of his opinion piece, kicking in. But this one right here, it's top 10 pick. I don't see him going. This is Schefter. I don't see Jeremiah Love going to the Titans, the Giants right now. A place that makes sense to me would be the Washington Commanders. This is what was said on the Pat McAfee show by Schefter. And quite honestly, I would welcome this, as would anybody here, because Washington's been one of our favorite landing spots for Jeremiah Love, or a running back, period. Bill isn't in good positioning. Ford isn't in good positioning. None of these running backs in Washington are game breakers or anybody that's going to hold off a Jeremiah Love, especially the decision to go get Jeremiah Love. Rashad White, he's a change of pace back that doesn't threaten anything. These guys are not even Tyler Algier when Bijan got drafted onto the Falcons, where Tyler Algier was even a better player than those guys. And Tyler Algier will go try and prove that in Arizona. But I don't know that the Washington Commanders will or won't take Jeremiah Love. I just hope it's not the Giants. That's one thing that we're just sitting here just hoping, sitting on bated breath, waiting for this thing to play out in a way that we walk away happy and excited that Jeremiah Love, let me see if I can grab the man, he could go Tennessee. I still think that's a possibility. What Schefter saying in that same tweet and on the McAfee show that he doesn't believe that Love is going to Tennessee, I think that's nonsense. I don't think he doesn't have that information. There's no way the Titans are letting him know, even Schefter, that information. So kind of wild for him to say, because he says things, he comes from a factual perspective. Schefter's known for and locked in as a guy that has information, and when he has it, he gives it to us. And the problem is he dips into these Pat McAfee shows and into these arenas of getting asked questions. What do you think? And the problem is we're also set on Schefter giving us some scoop and not an opinion. People will take it, twist it up, and dress it up, put lipstick on it, put a bow on it, and then other people grab it and then they start serving it out as factual information. It's an opinion. It's not usually right when he goes in the direction of opinion only. And while he's very connected and more connected than anybody, his contact book is probably the best in the league, him and Schefter and Rappaport. There's really nothing here to suggest that there's nothing out there to suggest that the Titans won't go Jeremiah Love. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. The Titans have actually addressed everything but the running back position. It's kind of like the not doing anything is saying something. Because when you're sitting here and you're going, okay, we're going to address that, we're going to address that, we're going to address that. Here's RB. Okay, we're addressing that, we're addressing that, we're addressing that, we're addressing that, and they're not touching the RB position. Guess what's shining bright like a diamond? The running back position that is untouched. And you might say, well, it's because they're satisfied with the Pollard and Spears situation, but I don't think that they are. Now, they could very much go wide receiver. That's something that I do think would be a smart move as well. That would be a real Sadiq would be fantastic. Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson would be fantastic. But I still think there's more of a probability that Love does go to Tennessee than not. But that's not a lock. None of these teams are a lock. None of them are a lock, except for Mendoza going 1. So, Washington makes a lot of sense. I hope that happens. That's one of my favorite spots. It's one of the spots I think he's best fit for. New Orleans was until ETN. KC was until Kenneth Walker. And so really it comes down to Washington. Hopefully not the Giants, but they're in the mix. And if you think that's not true, you aren't paying attention. I can explain it to you if you want. You can call in and I'll tell you why if you haven't been paying attention. You might say, why would they do that? Pay attention. The Tennessee Titans and the Washington Commanders, thank God those are 2 spots still left in the top 7 that are really good spots. The Giants are not. Miami is good for a potential wide receiver. Dallas won't go Love, although they should. Anybody should if he fell. The Rams are sneaky at 13 for Jeremiah Love, whether people want to believe that or not based on Corum and Kyron. It doesn't matter. We're talking about a generational talent, and we're talking about somebody that can win a Super Bowl, and the Rams are all in. They're all in. They're looking at, potentially bringing in A.J. Brown. So the Rams drafting Love. Did they need A.J. Brown? No, they got Adams and Puka Nacua, but they're still looking at A.J. Brown. You think that they don't need Love? Doesn't matter. They're all in. And that's a sneaky spot. It does put a nail in the coffin of Kyron and Corum, but it doesn't for Love. Love's in a great situation if he goes to the Rams. So there's so much, so many moving parts to this situation and hard to predict what could really happen. That is pretty much everything. Phone lines are open, and we'll take some phone calls. And I think we got another super chat. Let me see if we got any super chats on our Rumble rants over on Rumble. I have not checked yet. Aldi, 420 man, FDX, Turbo. Appreciate you over on Rumble. We're at 7.2K on Rumble, which is fantastic. We're rumbling. We're rumbling over on Rumble. I tell you. That's amazing. We're going to be at the same number of subscribers as the channel here on YouTube before long. Where were we? Phone lines.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Interesting conversations today. I mean, this is just the beginning of the Pickens stuff, I think. Could Jerry surprise us? I'll be the first to come in and go, wow, I did not see that coming. But the odds are we're not seeing a resolution to this thing. Oh, I got to open the phone lines. I'm sorry. Phone lines were not open. They're loading. Hold on. If anybody called, I apologize. Okay. They are open now. If anybody thinks that it could anything can happen. But anybody thinks Jerry's close to making the resolution for this thing, I got another thing coming. This is just not. Jerry's going to drag the hell out of this thing. And every day that goes by, Pickens is more likely to be traded on the tag. And we said that from the beginning, and people are like, he's not getting traded. He's on the tag, Smitty. Like I'm some moron that doesn't sit here and study this. Is study it like a science. There's a process here, and you got to exhaust the process in order to make the player available via trade. When you're on the tag, you're not tagging the player traditionally to trade them. The tag was designed for quarterbacks only back in the day. It was never used on wide receivers or running backs. It was created for the quarterback and the quarterback alone. And it wasn't even created so the quarterback could play on it. It was created so that you could pigeonhole a quarterback in place while you worked out a long-term deal, which you always did. Because the franchise tag amount was always so big that it never was feasible or something that any team really wanted to do or explore. But then it started to, especially with running backs being paid so little, running backs are easy to tag. And it's become kind of what the players call a prison tag now, because it takes away all of their options. And players don't like to be tagged. It makes them feel, it gives them a little bit of distrust with the team, and it creates animosity. And Pickens on the tag, there's a process involved. And the process is that it needs to be exhausted. The player and team need to have a big divide. And then said tagged player who's not expected to get traded on the tag, because it doesn't, like Breece Hall could still get traded on the tag. Breece Hall, if he doesn't get a long-term deal, there is a chance the Jets deal him to a team that still needs a running back. And that's a possibility. But you need to have divide between team and player. And controversy, like Pickens and Cowboys' plan is, that's right there. The avenue is paved, and they're on it right now. Once they get to the end of this road, that's when they decide whether they're going to let Pickens stay on the road or they're going to send him somewhere else on the tag. And then the team that brings him in already sets up a long-term deal in conjunction with the trade, and they execute both at the exact same time. It's Pickens is traded. He's got a new 4-year, $40 million or $39 million deal in unison with the trade announcement, because no team will trade for Pickens on the tag without the contract already being worked out and inked and ready to go. Let me go to the first caller here, 562, and then I'll go to Husseini after that. 562, you're live. What's your name and where are you calling from?
What's up, Smitty? This is Hybrid Dad calling from Long Beach, California.
What's up, my boy?
Not much, man. How you doing, man? Just want to call in and say you got the dopest show, man. You got to give the best info, man.
Thank you.
And the bias is real, man. You're not. I mean, the unbiased is real. Like you give dope information, but I just want to call in and talk about the Jeremiah Love situation.
Yes, sir.
So my thinking is, I'm thinking that the Titans pick him because they need some offense, they need some explosives, and at the fourth pick, there's not really too many players that you can risk that pick on, like a receiver, other than him.
And I could, what I could say to you is that with the falling of all three of the wide receivers, Mekhi Lemon's horrible pro day interviews or combine interviews, with Tate's 40 time, which shouldn't affect much. I'm just saying his value definitely, in some eyes, and it shouldn't, but it does go down. And then Jordan Tyson hamstring injury, it does kind of put Love on a safer plateau of you're taking a gamble on an offensive piece for Cam Ward. You have to develop Cam Ward. And the one thing about the Titans, like I said, the Titans, I still have the board written here. Everything has been addressed but the running back position. Everything. It's kind of like in an auction, by not calling out a certain player, you're trying to, in sly fashion, let somebody else call him out later, and then you're going to quietly pounce on it. That's what you could see it from a mile away that the Titans, I think, are doing this. But to your point, I do believe that, and I've said this over and over and over, everything is about Cam Ward. Everything. You're developing Cam Ward. How do you protect Cam Ward? How do you unleash Cam Ward? How do you support Cam Ward? They've been doing everything to do that except for the offensive. Wan'Dell's a nice addition, but he's not a world beater. So what is the move to make? Get him a superstar offensive skill position player. And the only one that's guaranteed, as I just alluded to the receiver questions, I still think Jordan Tyson would be amazing. But Sadiq, who isn't going to go that high, or Jeremiah Love. So the Titans saying this is for Cam Ward, grab Love. I see that as the most viable argument in favor of Love to Tennessee.
Okay, I definitely agree with you. And then my last thing was, like, how do you feel about about Bill's second season with a healthy JD5 because he was pretty good. He had a pretty good game against the Chargers. He showed some flashes, but obviously when he got hurt, the offense changed up a little bit. But I feel like people were sleeping on him, even with Rachaad White coming in. Obviously, he's like a pass catcher. But I think that Bill has a little bit of upside that people really not seeing.
Well, it's not that I disagree with you because there was probably no one higher on Bill than me. I
agree.
What I think doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like what you think, unfortunately, doesn't matter here. This team didn't believe in Bill. Bill had every chance in the world to get full workload. They just continued to drag their feet on it. So my evaluation is it has nothing to do with what you or I think. What is the likelihood that the team believes in Bill to be their starter? Now, they did lean on him a little bit at times near the end, and you do wonder. But bringing in Ford and bringing in Rachaad White is also not a good sign, in my opinion, because they do different things. So you're taking away from Bill and saying, well, Rachaad White's going to be our change of pace back and third down back. Like, clearly you're taking away from Bill. The odds of the avenue to glory was there for Bill last year, and they didn't give it to him. So that's the biggest crutch here. It has nothing to do with Bill's talent anymore for me. It has to do with that I watched Bill have the opportunity, and they just continued to take it from him. So I don't know what to tell you other than I don't trust the Commander's assessment of Bill. And that's what it's about.
That's a good point. Yeah, because like you said, them bringing in Rachaad White is basically like we don't really trust you because if they were going to give him the opportunity, they wouldn't have signed him and signed Jerome Ford. So that's a good point. Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, but also, again, those guys collectively aren't even as good as Tyler Algier. Even though I love Bill and I'm not like I'm not the biggest Algier guy, but I'm just being honest that he's good. He's really good, and the Cardinals should have a nice little running back in him. But
yeah,
Love is different. You draft Love, those other guys are gone. Like they don't even matter. They're backups. It doesn't matter. No one's taken away from Love, especially when the draft capital is deployed for a player that high. You're just not going to see those guys put a dent in Jeremiah Love's workload if they ended up taking him. But if you think, they're not going to take him, they're going to take a wide receiver instead, which I'm fine with, or Sadiq or whatever. But they got a Conquo, so they probably won't go Sadiq. But if they go get like Jordan Tyson or Carnell Tate or Mekhi Lemon or whatever, I understand that because of the investment that they made at the running back position through Ford and Bill already being on roster and getting Rachaad White. But do I think it's night and day difference? Like this is like you bought a home and you like it, it's good, but then all of a sudden the market, changes and now you can get your dream home for a discount. Like this guy shouldn't be sitting there at 7. But because Arizona addressed the running back position, because a lot of other factors, he's more likely to go 7 to like 13 now than he ever was. And you're not going to pass up on living better just because you liked your situation when it happened. They're not going to necessarily avoid going and getting Jeremiah Love. But it's hard to say, man. It's a wild west out there. And quite honestly, Love would be amazing anywhere, and he might be amazing in New York, but the devastation and turmoil that causes, Scatterboo and potentially Dart, because Scatterboo is his best friend. Like this is not. Imagine going to work. Okay, you don't have to tell me what you do, but imagine going to your type of work. Anybody out there, and your best friend is your coworker and they're amazing. And you walk in and your new boss, who you don't even know that well yet, 2 of them, the Bobs come in and they literally point at your best friend. They go, "You're out." And hey, you, Jaxon Dart, and this is you're Jaxon Dart. You're now working with this guy over here. Like you're not happy about your job all of a sudden. Doesn't matter how good this player is, Jeremiah Love. His best friend, Jaxon Dart, is Scatterboo. So the damage that this causes to draft Jeremiah Love to like everything, is wild to me, despite the fact that hypocritically, if I was in the situation, there's no way Love is slipping past me. But I would know how to use them both. I don't think Nagy, a.k.a. Nagy and Harbaugh, know how to use both of them. I think they're going to screw this up like Vrabel screwed up Hendy in that situation. So that's my take on that. Anything else, my boy?
Nah, man, appreciate you, bro. I'm going to let you go, man, but I'll definitely be calling back, bro. Appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, call anytime later. Mike with the super chat here, $10, and then I'll go to Husseini. Mike, appreciate you with the super. Mike dropping a $10 wad. If you're Bijan or Gibbs agent, are you trying to start extension talks with the Falcons and Lions? Same draft class as JSN, and they're both deserving. Yeah, definitely. Running backs are a little hard pressed to get paid, but you also are going to see that position potentially, get more and more money too. So it's like they're already cheap. Like, yeah, it would be smart to do, but we'll see. Definitely considering, how good they both played too. They could really command a bunch of money, but man, the running back position just gets screwed. It's getting better, but it's still bad. It's still very disrespected. I mean, you just think about how good the running back is for the team, and it's shameful, man, how much different this is. Like, there's no way running backs are getting paid this amount of money. Like, and it's crazy. Like, is Gibbs not as good as JSN? Absolutely is. Especially valued for his team. But he's going to get $40 million, and Gibbs is going to push, 20. How much above 20? We'll see. But the running backs need to win. Bijan, Gibbs need to somehow walk in and get like 30, which ain't going to happen. But, I mean, how are we at 40 million and 20 million? And don't tell me there's shelf life. I could care less about that. You can structure it in a way that it doesn't matter. So if Gibbs gets his extension, you're getting 4 years out of 3 or 4 years out of him. Why can't, I don't care about shelf life. Why can't he get what JSN's getting? He should, but he doesn't because the market's not there. It's crazy. Husseini, you're live. Thank you, Mike, for the super chat, and you were 100% correct.
Hey, Smitty. About Pickens, so let's say Jerry fumbles it to the max and doesn't trade him or sign him. Would that mean that Pickens will pull a Le'Veon Bell?
No. I don't think you'll ever see somebody hold out and destroy their career again. The rules have changed a lot too. Now players, I forget what it is. Let me see. Because if you're not a rookie, I think is on your rookie contract. Let me ask Kruger real quick. Kruger has not been super accurate lately. So, hey Kruger, NFL rule changes. Refresh my memory. If a player holds out, the team is not allowed to give them the fine, like to waive the penalties of the holdout, but that doesn't apply or does apply to like rookie deals. What is the breakdown on that when a player can't get their money back when they're holding out?
Yeah, so under the current NFL rules, especially since the new collective bargaining agreement, teams are no longer allowed to waive the fines for veterans who hold out. If a veteran skips camp or mandatory activities, those fines are mandatory. There's no forgiving them. Rookies are a bit different. If a rookie misses time, it's still frowned upon, but the team actually has a bit more flexibility in handling that. However, once you get to the point of actual games being missed, whether rookie or veteran, the player is typically forfeiting game checks, and teams cannot just give that money back either.
So it changes the way these guys push things to the limit. Like you hold out for remember Zeke Elliott back in the day? Zeke held out, ironically, Dallas. He held out, and then I think it was like week 5 or something, and they just restructure his deal like to account for all that. I forget how it all went down with Zeke, but it wasn't even like a loss of money for Zeke to come in later. So nowadays it's different. Like you can't push it to the limit. The problem though is that he gets injured. If Pickens holds out until August, like mid-August or whatever, and doesn't come back until the 11th hour, the likelihood of injuries to the roof, through the roof.
Yeah, that makes sense now because.
But he's not.
Chris Jones did the same thing not too long ago with his contract. I know he's a defender, but kind of the same thing. I remember he sat out for a few weeks until the Chiefs finally made him happy for that year until they signed him or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think that's going to happen here. Number one, the two different dynamics at play here. Number one, Pickens isn't going to hold out and get his way. Like Jerry's not going to pay him $40 million per year once he's already hurt the team. You know, that's not Jerry's style. So if that's the way Pickens goes about it in his team, that's going to be bad. Is it impossible that he holds out? No. There have been players that said that, you know, they would hold out for the good of the game and for just making a change. And I don't sense that Pickens is that kind of pioneer. I think he's definitely. I think he gets a bad rap. I think Pickens is a much more chill dude than people give him credit. He was in a horrible situation in Pittsburgh where they pretty much showed everything that Pickens felt. They conveyed it when they brought DK Metcalf over in a trade, replaced Pickens right in front of his face, and paid DK Pickens' money and said, "We're not giving you the money, Pickens." And Pickens said, "I'm the top 5 wide receiver." And Pickens went to Dallas with CeeDee Lamb on the roster and proved he's a top 5 wide receiver. So the guy was right. Everyone can call Pickens a diva all they want. He was right. He was in the right. And everything we've seen about Pickens in Dallas has been real chill, which I predicted because you're calm when you get traded for. A.J. Brown, if he gets traded to the Ravens or the Patriots, he'll be a good little boy for at least one calendar year. And that's because you have a reset. Antonio Brown was a mess when he got sent over to Tampa Bay, right? Burned his feet off in Oakland when the Raiders were in Oakland. Burned his feet off. You remember all the turmoil? Grandma, I'm free. All that stuff that Antonio Brown went through. He got traded to the Buffalo Bills to play with Josh Allen. He said, "No, I'm not going. I don't want to play with Josh Allen. I want a good quarterback." And then they sent him to the Raiders. He's like, "Yeah, that's where I want to go." Antonio Brown was off his rocker. And then Antonio Brown goes to Tampa. It's like he's wearing a bow tie, living under Tom Brady's staircase. And he was such a good little boy until he ripped his shirt off and retired on the field and walked off the field. But he was good for like over a year. So Pickens is on his best behavior, so hard to really know what he's going to be like when this thing starts unraveling. But I do think that he's completely misunderstood because he was right. The Pittsburgh Steelers were not treating him the way he deserved to be treated. And he was right. Give me the ball. I'm a top 5 wide receiver. They didn't do it. They replaced him with DK Metcalf. I like DK. DK's a pretty, good sleeper this year because people are undervaluing DK a lot. But Pickens is 5 times the receiver that DK is. And the Steelers had no idea. They just sat there, and he's right all along. So I'm kind of team Pickens on whatever he decides to do right now because in my mind, he's been right the entire time.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's actually my favorite wide receiver in the league. I've always loved him, and I would always tell people that if he leaves Pittsburgh, he's going to show people, and people would always make fun of me for that. But I drafted him last year, too, a lot before I even, when I saw he went to the Cowboys, I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, him with Dak, and that's going to be awesome. I agree. I just hope that he gets traded, honestly. I mean, I'm just really, really, really hoping that he gets traded because I want him to be relevant, and I want him to be good in not just football, but in fantasy. It's going to be a shame if he kind of falls off and doesn't really, of any value to any person for fantasy or any team.
Pickens ain't falling off, my boy. Pickens ain't falling off. Let me believe that. His whole objective the last year was to prove that that's not the case. He was 4th in yards after contact for wide receivers. He was 4th in red zone targets for wide receivers. He was 3rd in yardage. All this advanced data is on thefantasyfootballshow.com. All players have an advanced data page. Not to mention, what's the coolest maybe invention that I've created? And I've created a lot of things. I've innovated in the industry. I got into the industry to invent the trade calculator back in 2002. And if anybody had it out there, nobody was, they weren't a big site, or they were, toying around with ideas or whatever. But there were no big websites out there that had any sort of tools, except for like downloadable, like dominators and things where you download the program, then you have to put your whole roster in and it'd run on your computer. It's nothing that was on like a website that was one click. So I got into the industry in 2002/2003. Created the trade calculator, created the draft simulator, created a whole bunch of other tools. I've been innovating ever since for 25 years. One of the new features that I just created, which is not even that like big of an innovation, but it's just one of my favorite things that I added to the website. On every single player page on thefantasyfootballshow.com is this what's called the cross position value like idea trade board. And this is like, if you go to Pickens, for example, this is on Pickens's board. And I love this thing. So what it does is it puts the player in the middle of the chart, and it has only cross position players surrounding them. So George Pickens, it's auto defaulted to running back. You can switch it to quarterback or tight end, but you can't switch it to wide receiver, because the point of the tool is you're comparing cross position. So George Pickens is straight in the middle with his auction dollar amount. It's in redraft mode by default, but you can select dynasty. And it tells you the players, the 3 best players above him on my rankings and the 3 best players below him that are across position. So it's the best trade idea generator, I think, out there in the market, because it just gives you right away when you're on his page, Jeremiah Love's worth more. Jonathan Taylor's worth more. Hampton's worth more. Chase Brown is tied. You can see the dollar amounts. James Cook is tied. And then Christian McCaffrey is below. But it gives you ideas to trade, and and gives you the cross position. Because the best value of a player in trade analysis or in general is cross position, in my opinion, because it really kind of takes away and gives you that. Whenever we say, hey, what wide receivers are here instead of going running back here, that's cross position is like the key, in my opinion, to dominating a lot of fantasy football. But check that out. I love that tool. But these are on every player page as well. And look at this, man. 5th in air yards, 30-plus yard receptions, 9th. 40-plus, he's 5th. Receptions, he's 6th. I mean, he dominates, the top 5, top 6 overall wide receivers. Just absolute dominating season. Pickens to the moon. He's truly an elite top 10 wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I guess when I meant fall off, I didn't mean like forever. I just meant like if he doesn't get traded.
Oh, I know.
Jerry Ford.
I forgot you.
Yeah, if he plays on a franchise tag, basically, I'm just worried that like like you said, if he gets injured and then he just won't be relevant for a while or whatever for a minute, and I don't want that to happen. I really like George Pickens. He's my favorite receiver outside of my Chiefs world. JD5 and Pickens, those are my 2 favorite players. I'll always defend them. I love them. But my other question before I get off the phone, Smitty, was with this Kelce thing. Do you think that like, I know that Kelce might not play all 3 years or whatever, maybe 1 year, 2 years, but do you think that this contract has any effect on potentially the Chiefs signing or drafting Sadiq? Do you think that matters at all? Or do you think that has nothing to do with it?
Yeah, it unfortunately does. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to commit to the position, and I think if you if you didn't have this, it'd be different. I think, especially that early Sadiq's kind of like you're pushing it anyway. Right now, at least the value seems to be that's a little early, but could happen for a team that really sees the value. But I don't think they draft him now.
Yeah, I kind of figured too once I saw that. Now I'm thinking they're probably going to go with a receiver or, unfortunately, a defensive end. That's not good for fantasy.
Yeah,
but,
I'm fearful they're not going to take that skill position player. I want them to grab Tate. That would be great.
Agreed. I hope that they do, but if they don't, I'm afraid that they'll probably get a defender. But yeah, I kind of figured that now with that news that Sadiq kind of might be off the board now.
All right. Thanks, my boy.
Smitty.
Call in anytime.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you. Later. All right, guys. We'll be back. Super chats. Appreciate everybody that dropped one. Tony, $20 super chat. Mike, appreciate you, Mikey.
I smell meatloaf.
Tony dropping the
Let him cook.
Tony dropping the 10 or 20 gifted memberships. I forget what it was, but let me see real quick. Let me give him the proper gifted. He dropped it was 10 gifted memberships by Tony. Tony, you're the man, bro. Mahalo. Tony, I almost you almost wouldn't have had the fantasy football show on a stormy Saturday evening more than 20 years ago. Your boy was on the Mokulua Islands in Hawaii and got swept off the top part of it, unaware as a tourist is that the islands go underwater when the tide moves. Didn't know that. Mokaluas are like, I don't know, like, I want to say like 20, 30 stories high. These two islands a mile off of the beach, and they're like I said, 30 stories high. Tourist comes over canoeing, I'm going to get on this island, and they like go underwater. It was not a good day for Smitty. But we're here. We did it. And mahalo. Appreciate you, Tony. Thank you very much. I'll see you all when news breaks. I'm sure we'll be back before the 8 p.m. show. It feels like one of those days. Thank you to my Rumblers. Guys, go subscribe to the Rumble channel if you're in the YouTube live stream. Here's the link. Thank you, Mikey. Thank you, 420 Man. All the FDX Turbo over on Rumble. Here's the link to the video that's being streamed right now, but just click this link and then follow on Rumble. We're trying to get to 8K. Try to get to 10K. We get to 10K, or somebody drops a massive 500 Rumble wallet tip through the Rumble wallet, which is crypto tip. It's very easy. You don't even have to have crypto. You just download the Rumble wallet by clicking on the tip jar $sign on my channel, and it downloads the Rumble wallet for you, and it just converts it for you. It's like doing a super chat. But anybody that does that, we start the Rumble show early, and the whole show gets dedicated. The whole Rumble channel will be dedicated to you the first month. Have you on screen the entire time. But anyway, see you all probably before 8 p.m. We're live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern every single Monday through Friday. We're live at midnight Eastern almost every single night here on the main channel and on Rumble. And whenever big news breaks like this show right here. Is Cam Scatterbo ever going to get his value back in 2026? Not if they draft Jeremiah Love. If they don't draft Jeremiah Love, sure. But they're leaning toward drafting Jeremiah Love. They tried to get Walker. Thank you, Husseini. Appreciate you, my boy. Josh, tip top. Smitty, tip top. Thank you, my boy. Josh, your boy. Appreciate you being here. Get him a reliable number one wide receiver. Who are we talking about, my boy? Who are we talking about? Ghetto, I'd only take Pickens over CMC. Okay. I wish Bills would draft defensive players. And I wish the Bills could sign Keenan Allen. You don't want Keenan Allen. I mean, actually, it's not bad. It's not bad, but I don't know. I'd rather have probably somebody that's not going to get hurt, like Juwan Jennings or something like that. Juwan Jennings would be in people's grills, just totally talking about God, that guy's the worst trash talker. But it's not even like good trash talker. It's like disgusting trash talk. It's not even like a good. People walk away from Juwan Jennings going, this guy's not even like. It's weird. Weird. I should have called in about Bucky. We'll call in about Bucky on the next show, bro. And yes, you should have. Thank you, Nicholas. See you on the next one. Gainwell over Bucky in 2026. No, but you need to cup them both. But Zach Robinson just called Bucky Irving his Bijan, so. But I cuffed the two cup. They'll probably be number one and number two. Or I'm sorry, it'll probably be the number one or number two cuffing situation on the cuff board which I will have cooked up here very soon. Judkins over Tootin. No, thank you. Tootin over Judkins, baby. Sorry, that one's wrong. Again, Trone. Trone, I don't think we agree on much. All right, see you all later. Deuce.
Now deck attack. Now deck attack. Lamb. Pickens. Lamb. Pickens. Deck attack. Deck attack. Deck attack. Deck attack. Deck attack.
Get Lamb.